Welcome to FED News, Fake Figure World News, from September 23rd to September 26th. I'm your host, Jeremiah. Let's begin. Quick recap of our current champions. There is a new champion in Abyss, and I'll explain that later. Other champions, including the debuting WWF Television Championship with the winner Bob Backlund, and other championships as well. In WWF news, Ric Flair has brought in the Four Horsemen. He has brought in Barry Windham, Arn Anderson, and Tully Blanchard to reform the Four Horsemen in the WWF. A deal was struck with them. They should be appearing very shortly. $1 Million Man also signed with WWF in a separate deal, and he will plan to debut after In Your Home 3 to possibly be a foil to Hulk Hogan. We'll wait and see. Sting is supposedly taking some time off from wrestling following the next pay-per-view. The WWF has introduced a television championship belt, which was won by Bob Backlund earlier in the week. And breaking news, Mr. Perfect and Larry Zbyszko both have signed with the WWF. They came at the 11th hour willing to sign a deal for a pretty good sum of money. Mr. Perfect will be debuting. Larry Zbyszko is told to be on standby, possibly towards the next draft of next year. The WWF news has a little bit of news this week as Bobby Lashley and Kurt Angle have signed, but they will not be competing until their current contracts are up at their respective brands. JBL is also in talks currently about possibly joining. Nothing's been finalized yet, but he has expressed interest in going to the WWE brand. In WCW news, JBL, however, though, is still scheduled to face Mankind for the WCW Championship. WCW has announced that only a 32-man roster each year will be allowed on the show to keep down, obviously, being lost in the shuffle, trying to utilize the talent they have. Lex Luger, though, is still in talks with a contract extension as the current one has expired. He has expressed interest in also looking into the WWF in the near future. And WCW has also announced Thunder has been introduced to work with the 12 lowest ranked superstars. Thunder will be a 3-match card, undercard, if you will, before the main roster to kind of help with the lower ranked superstars who find themselves not on matches, on the match card. In AEW news, Danhausen, Samoa Joe, Butcher, and Blade will be eligible for next year's draft as AEW has put a final stamp on the roster limit of only 32 superstars, which has been reached. They have also announced that they will be introducing Dark to work with the bottom 10 guys on the ranking system. So we're going to see what kind of matches you see in that situation. In NXT news, Buddy Murphy has announced he is going to be leaving when his contract is up. He is more than willing to sign with AEW. Kyle O'Reilly and Keith Lee are planning to also follow him to AEW when their contracts are up as well. Currently no date on when their contracts are up, but Murphy should be up by January, if not into February. NXT has signed Wade Barrett, Alexander Wolf, Killian Dane, Roderick Strong, and TJ Perkins. The idea is to put another cruiserweight in, Undisputed Era, while Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish are the current tag champions, to have them pair up with him. Alexander Wolf and Killian Dane will team up with Eric Young to kind of spread sanity, if you will, around the NXT roster. Wade Barrett, however, would debut align himself with Ezekiel Jackson, helping retain his title over Kurt Angle at the Super Show. In Impact news, though, Bill DeMott was crowned the Impact X Division champion, beating Mike Knox in the finals. However, though, he would have an impromptu match with the Sandman, who would defeat him later in the week for that title. TNA is also considering co-branding a championship on Impact known as the TNA Championship, which is going to be debuting not with the first inaugural champion, but a debuting superstar will bring in this title into existence. It'll be kind of a way to promote TNA while on Impact. A roster limit of only 30 superstars each year. The cutoff will be happening very shortly. In fact, a impromptu draft will take place with some people, not everybody, guaranteed to stay on in their current work rate. Chris Harris, though, has been told recently to get back in peak shape for his debut coming soon. The company has told him to be prepared and to look his best for his debut, as there are big plans for Chris Harris inside Impact. Jerry Lynn, Rene Dupree, Tony Nese, and Mark Jindrak are scheduled to debut in the next 2 weeks. In fact, Tony Nese did debut tonight in the opening match in a loss to Jimmy Jacobs, which also featured Joey Ryan in that triple threat match. Nese was brought in unexpectedly. Mr. Kennedy has signed on to Impact. It will be interesting to see what kind of ring shape he shows up in. There has been negotiations for a while. He was unhappy in TNA. He's now going to be moving on to Impact. And Matt Morgan has had his name drawn out of the random number or the random name generator to be signed with Impact if he's willing. He's in talks with Impact right now. Stay tuned for future updates on that. Over on the other brand news, ECW has announced it's moving to the Open Door Wrestling until a TV deal is found. El Desperado is being scouted for All Japan Pro Wrestling. No deal has been struck. The NWA, which has been very light on news recently, has announced a 32-man tournament to crown number one contender for the NWA World Championship, held by Kenzo Suzuki. And ODW plans to crown champions at their next show, which will take place possibly in the next month or so. Just a recap, though, congrats to Bob Backlund winning the first ever WWF Television Championship after a 4-man tournament that featured Ricky Steamboat, Cowboy Bob Orton, and the Great Muta. Roman Reigns would win the WWE United States Championship over AJ Styles. On a side note, AJ would go on to win the 24/7 Championship later on that night from RVD in an impromptu match. Pete Dunne at the Super Show would be crowned the first NXT United States Champion for a 16-man tournament. Ezekiel Jackson would defend his NXT World Championship over Kurt Angle at the Super Show in Australia, much to fans' dismay, with the help of Wade Barrett, who debuted earlier in the night. In a victory over TJ Perkins, he would come back out and cost Angle. Expect Kurt Angle to feud with Wade Barrett before his time is up with his current contract. Buddy Murphy winning the NXT United Kingdom Championship in a bid to try to maybe entice Buddy to stay, even though he's kind of told him that he plans to leave and go to AEW in the future and team up and cause the House of Black. Grand Metalik, 2/3 of Lucha House Party would win titles that night. Grand Metalik winning the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. Kalisto winning the North American Championship as well. Grand Metalik would beat Angel Garza, while Kalisto would go on and defeat EC3 in an upset of the night. Abyss would finally get his one-on-one championship match from Matt Morgan, which would result in Abyss winning the TNA title. So TNA World Champion now Abyss, no longer Matt Morgan. And over on Impact, a last show of the night, Sean O'Haire and Chuck Palumbo would defeat Nunzio and Tony Mamaluke for the Impact Tag titles. Finally, after 3 attempts, they would successfully defeat them. Sandman, of course, would win the the Impact X Division Championship, and Mike Awesome would defeat Lance Storm for the AAA Championship. Scheduled next week, of course, will be Mark Jindrak's debut in Impact, as he will face Snitsky for the Impact World Championship. This has been your FED News for the week. See you next week.